Hi everyone, I'm GREYMOND. I'm still not feeling too well, but I'm recording as best as I can, so please bear with me. Today I'm answering questions about OCD recovery. These are the questions that you left below my video asking you to ask me questions if you have any. First question is, hi Ali, how do you start rejecting physical compulsions? What is the first step? What should I do? I seem to have a problem starting. The easiest way to start is take a look at all the compulsions you're doing. It would be good with physical compulsions if you actually write them out so we can see clearly the scope of the situation. And then little by little, start to reduce. So what is the easiest compulsion that you can start with that's like you do but you can kind of go without? Do that one. And then day after day, start adding more. If you can do 2 or 3 a day, do 2 or 3 a day. It just depends on what you can handle. I always say to clients who have this situation, what is the point in you suffering longer? Just push through. But at the same time, if you're pushing through to the point of, having, a panic attack, then maybe you're pushing too much. Maybe you need to pull it back a little bit, right? Not all the way, but just a little bit, just to give yourself some breathing room, right? So just see what you can do each day, but to the maximum, not to the minimum. I mean, if you have to do to the minimum, you can, but I'm sure there's compulsions that you do that only give you like 2 out of 10 anxiety, 3 out of 10 anxiety. Start eliminating those. You will see that it's not going to be making that huge of a deal, and then after that you can kind of go for more and more and more. So it's a daily process. It will take you a while to get through all of them, and you need to get through all of them. You can't use an excuse saying like, well, this doesn't bother me so much. Well, right now it doesn't, but it can in the future, so you have to eliminate all of them. Next question is, hi Ali, I'm suffering from Puro. I'm doing all the hard work, good, refusing every thought, doing ERP. I want to ask you, I don't have OCD and anxiety for 4 or 5 days while doing ERP, and suddenly it comes back with a new thought, but I would refuse that. Is that the process of OCD recovery? Yes, absolutely. You're doing the right thing. Don't get discouraged that it comes back. This tends to be what the brain does for everybody across the board. That first you'll get little glimpses of maybe even like, I remember when I first started to feel better, I had a glimpse of maybe 15 minutes when I didn't have OCD. And after, like such a long time of having OCD, that 15 minutes felt like the best thing ever. Then that 15 minutes goes into, for a day you didn't have OCD, then for a few days you didn't have OCD. And between those breaks, right, you have setbacks, right? But as long as the breaks are getting longer and longer, that means you're on the right track. So, okay, so say, like what you're saying here, you had a break from OCD for 4 to 5 days. Can we try to go for, say, 7 days, make it a full week? And then maybe then we can try for a week and a half, right? So try to make sure, especially at the end of it, right? So 4 or 5 days you already did. So after the 5th day, really watch it to make sure you don't fall for anything, because usually that's when the brain will really ramp it up. And then see if you can do 7 days and then go from there like that. So, but yeah, it's completely normal. You're on the right track. You're doing great. Just keep the space. For recovery, you don't need to keep doing more and more and more. Just do this all the time. It's more repetition than one-upping yourself every day. It's actually the hardest in the beginning. So the most effort is in the beginning. After that, you get the rhythm, the anxiety lowers, so it becomes easier. Towards the end of the recovery process, I find the more challenging situation is to make sure you keep doing the exposures. Because by that point, it becomes not as important. Next question is, how can you identify a false memory? So a false memory is, an example would be, I was doing this and this and this and this, and then I don't remember this specific moment, but what if in this specific moment I did something like this? So say for example, I was driving, everything was fine. I remember I was listening to music. I remember I was doing this and that. Then I feel like I hit something and then I wasn't sure, and then maybe what if I hit like a person, and I don't remember, but I kind of remember, but maybe, and now I'm gonna be going to jail and I'm a bad person. So there is the actual memory from a past event, then there's a blank spot. This doesn't have to be your case specifically, but this is what I hear most of the time. So then there's a blank spot of, well, I don't remember this part, and then you might remember the ending as well, right? Like the after this blank spot, you might not. And then there's a conclusion to it, like, and now, if this is true, I'm a bad person, or the police will get me, or whatever. That's usually kind of how it goes. So if it follows those things in general, you're like, that's a false memory OCD. It depends on what the topic of false memory OCD is. It can be cheating, it could be hurting somebody in some way, but the point is if you feel like it's urgent, if you feel like you need to dig into it, if you feel like you forgot something but you're not sure, but what if, but I need to analyze and I urgently need to figure it out, that's OCD. And you need to refuse analyzing it, and at the same time you need to refuse analyzing what I'm saying right now, because if you are trying to figure out, oh well, Ali said this but it's not exactly how mine was, so that means that maybe mine was different and maybe mine wasn't false memory OCD. That's exactly how false memory OCD sounds. So if you're having this loop playing in your head, yes, it is false memory OCD. You have to start doing the recovery work in order to escape this. Otherwise, it will keep playing in your head over and over again. So you have to understand that it's a false memory OCD. If you're asking that question, it already tells me that it's a false memory OCD, because you wouldn't be asking that. Because if you compare it, and again, comparing is not really a good thing, because sometimes people, I find also with false memory, a lot of the time, a compulsion would be saying, well, I forgot some mundane, everyday thing, so if I forgot that, I could have forgot this very important thing, and they're not the same thing. The brain doesn't hold on to useless information. So whether you picked something up, or whether you turned off the stove, or unless you have OCD about the stove, in that case it would be an important event and you wouldn't do it. But just everyday life stuff, right? Sometimes people forget little things. Then in those cases, that's just the brain forgot because it wasn't important in the moment. Stove probably wasn't the best example, but you get what I'm saying. And with false memory OCD, it's what if I forgot? What if I don't remember? What if, like in a sense, you kind of did forget, but you forgot because there's nothing happened in that moment. So between the part where you stopped remembering and the part like where you started to remember again, that blank spot, nothing happened in that blank spot. That's why the brain didn't hold on to that useless information. And that's why you can't remember it clearly. Just like when you did some little tiny action and you can't remember that either, because it wasn't important, So you have to look at it like that. I'm going to stop here just for today. I hope I'm going to answer more questions tomorrow. I promise I'm going to get to all the questions. There's quite a lot here, but I will get to all of them. It's just going to take me a few days just because of my voice. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. If you'd like to do the recovery program, all the information is on youhaveocd.com. I'll see you tomorrow.